the bears fail yet again to push Bitcoin below its 21-day moving average, is it simply the case that the Bitcoin Moon Boys are stronger than anyone could have imagined? As the biggest bust confirmation was just printed on this one altcoin, there's only one thing left that Bitcoin has to do if it wants to break into a full-blown, balls to the wall, thrust until you bust bull market unlike anything we've ever seen. With Bitcoin being more resilient than we've ever seen, even among some of these bearish indicators, Bitcoin so far has yet to breach below the 21-day moving average at all, going back months. And there are even bigger things than that have just happened on this chart. So if you love gains, dumping, busting, and thrusting, hit that like, hit that subscribe. And without any further ado, let's absolutely jump in. Bitcoin, if you look at this chart right here, I think the most important thing, and we talked about this last week actually as well, is that when Bitcoin breaks the 0.618 fib retracement from these bear to bull market explosions, that is the kind of don't look back, never look back, bust until you, or thrust until you bust, explode like you've never exploded before type vibes that we've seen Bitcoin do every bull market. And currently, at this very second, Bitcoin actually sits just a measly, roughly about 10% away from that level. We have not gotten there at all yet in the year 2023. To get there would require new yearly highs for Bitcoin. However, it's right above 48,000 US dollars, like $2,000 beneath 50K. So it's not even very far away, very realistic that one day you wake up and Bitcoin has shattered that, right? It would take a pretty big candle, like a 10% candle, at least even from where the price is at this very second. So it would be a pretty massive candle, but it technically is something that can be done in a single day. And so that is a gigantic level to be looking for on Bitcoin's chart. As we talked about for the entire altcoin markets, it's not actually that level. It's actually closer to the 0.382. For the altcoins. Now, obviously, Bitcoin has looked insanely resilient for the past, really 2 or 3 days. When we were down at the 21-day moving average for the last couple of days, Bitcoin had actually breakdowns in a quick wick below it, but we did not get a single daily close below this 21-day moving average. Now, it could still happen, right? Nobody knows. Nobody can predict this exactly. However, one thing that is just for sure is that there's only like less than 2 weeks of the year 2023 left. We have a potential Santa Claus rally in stocks and sometimes also in Bitcoin. In fact, if stocks completely explode, that's usually pretty good for Bitcoin. They're doing very well right now. We have the Bitcoin ETFs most likely to be approved in less than a month. People are so excited about this. So there is so much momentum right now that I think that even though the technicals are saying, hey, we need some kind of cool off, and maybe we'll still get one, as I said right here on December 2nd, 18 days ago, I said this is the very first time in history Bitcoin has the chance of basically hitting a new all-time high before the halving. There's still about a little over 4 months until the Bitcoin halving. So it's absolutely possible, even if we get a dump in the next couple of days or in the next few weeks, it's absolutely possible Bitcoin is still able to break all-time highs in the next 4 months. That is a huge amount of time. For reference, in just the last 3 months, in just the last 2 months, Bitcoin has gone up about 70%. For Bitcoin right here to break all-time highs, it would need to go up about 55% more. So we've already seen that massive percentage gain we need in a smaller time frame, actually about half the time frame than we have to the halving. So it's incredibly realistic. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but it is absolutely a very realistic possibility. I'm pretty impressed that still this 21-day moving average, I mean, for the entire middle of November, like the second half of November, we were in danger of breaking down below the 21-day moving average, and we did have bearish divergence just like we have now. In fact, I pointed that out towards the end of the last video that I made. But instead of dumping, we literally just vertically accumulated. It's basically the most bullish thing that you can have happen when there's bearish technicals showing up. Instead of dumping and instead of going sideways, we just slowly went up. It wasn't anything very quick until the end of November, beginning of December, But the entire month of November was just kind of a slow inching upwards, which is pretty much like the most bullish thing you can get when you see massive bearish divergences being printed. So now also something I want to talk about before we continue with Bitcoin, Cardano is literally like getting its insane golden cross on the weekly chart here with the 21 and 50 week moving averages. This is very big. I'm very bullish on Cardano. I'm very bullish on altcoins. Cardano's up like 6% today. Solana's up like 13% today. AVAX is up like 10%. A lot of altcoins are actually getting some decent gains right now. And I think that's absolutely just beginning. This chart is the biggest one, I think, to illustrate that. The entire altcoin market cap, minus Bitcoin, minus Ethereum, total 3 chart. I think this is just getting ready to move. The thing that I've been talking about the last few videos is the potential that Bitcoin has a pullback, maybe trade sideways, and altcoins do really well. But the thing that I've been wrong about is that Bitcoin just simply has not gotten a pullback yet. It has not gotten any real pullback. The biggest pullback that we've gotten in the past couple of months was on December 11th, about 9 days ago. Bitcoin went from about 44,000 to 39.8 and then closed its daily above 41,000. All of that price action within a single day. And already on the daily chart, Bitcoin's momentum, even on like the MACD, is kind of even swinging back up because of this most recent move. Still holding on that 21 days. So impressive. The Bitcoin golden cross on the weekly is also literally so close to happening as well. So that's another bullish indication. The entire stock market looks very strong. The SPX actually so close. Let me actually switch to a weekly chart for the SPX. Very close, like 1% away from breaking its all-time highs, not even 2023 high, it's all-time highs, less than 1% away. And that's why we're talking about like that Santa Claus rally, stuff like that. Just a lot of bullish momentum. And realistically, if a Bitcoin spot, I want to say when a Bitcoin spot ETF is approved, that's maybe like the only fundamental chance, like a sell the news event where Bitcoin might get a dump. But realistically, who is going to sell their Bitcoin, guys? Who is like looking and trying to sell the news on a Bitcoin spot ETF? The biggest news the Bitcoin has basically ever seen in terms of mainstream adoption. In my opinion, it's crazy to sell your Bitcoin into the Bitcoin spot ETF. Maybe it'll dump, right? There's going to be a couple weeks between the announcement of the Bitcoin spot being announced until it actually goes live. So the day that it gets announced, like let's say it gets approved, it won't actually start trading for a couple of weeks. Maybe it'll dump in that time, but really who would be selling into something like that, right? I wouldn't, but I mean, Mag's the Scalping Pro putting like the simplest chart with the Bitcoin halving and the trajectory of Bitcoin most likely over the next 2 years. And I could not agree more. The next year and a half, roughly about 14 to 18 months, I think is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin. One thing I also want to highlight is that, Elizabeth Warren is very anti-crypto, but basically what has been happening is that Elizabeth Warren's anti-Bitcoin bill is very unlikely. The 118th Congress, which is our current Congress, is on track to be the most unproductive in modern history, with only 20 bills signed into law this year. And you can see this chart highlighting all of the other, let me actually zoom in there. You can see this chart highlighting all of the other years, how many bills were signed in. Like, they've done nothing this year. The government has been completely dysfunctional, and that is most likely good for Bitcoin. Also, why would we put I hate having these elderly people dictate anything, and they're the ones that pass laws and make decisions. Why? They're completely corrupt, completely out of touch with everything. Just basically the worst people you could have making anything into law, having any sort of control. And that's what the US has. It's a disgrace. It's literally a disgrace. I can't even think of a different word. It's disgusting. But with that being said, this video really is to highlight that Bitcoin realistically is far overdue. And you could have even said that a month ago that it was overdue for a pullback. But guys, why are we not getting one? The simplest answer is because we are in a bull market, which is something I've been saying since January, probably even December of 2022, January of 2023. I've been bullish. I have my entry positions around $17,000 per Bitcoin, something like that. Ethereum as well. I think my entry was around like 900 or 1,000 per ETH or something like that. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I just think, as I've been saying, I'm playing devil's advocate. Maybe we'll get some sort of dump. But realistically, even if we do get a dump, I think it's one of those things. Let's say we dump $5,000. It's one of those things that could be bought up in a single day. So or at least in a couple of days. So it's really nothing to worry about or even factor in. If you're not day trading, it really doesn't matter. Like, I'm still long in all my positions. I still have all of my crypto. So when I say Bitcoin's going to dump, I'm not shorting it. And I think it would be incredibly hard to short anyway, just because I think this market's so bullish that it would be very hard to time that. I think the time frame would be so hard, so small. But realistically, all the technicals are screaming Bitcoin is overdue for a pullback. Would it be a surprise that actually we don't get one? Absolutely not. That has always been a realistic possibility. But $48,000 is that gigantic level that I'm looking for to really start getting excited on Bitcoin, but also specifically altcoins. And altcoins are also inching closer and closer to their levels that are going to absolutely erupt, I believe, into new all-time highs for these altcoins. And sign up with Phemex or BitGet below in my description if you're interested in trading, accumulating altcoins, just buying coins, buying Bitcoin, whatever it is, and transferring it to your wallet. Keep it safe for this entire bull market. Without any further ado, that's it for me.